I'm Fred McClimans, and on this edition of Perspectives, we're talking to Cheryl Burgess. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi, Fred. How are you?
Doing well. Cheryl, I'd like to ask you about social business. What does that mean to you?
Sure, that's a great question. Social business is the intercollaboration of your internal processes where you create a culture of empowered employees. To empower your employees, you need to have them buy into your mission, your vision, and your values. And the only way to do that is with executives that are social.
I'm glad that you brought up the idea of a social executive.
Right.
How important is a social executive to businesses today? And is there a difference based on the industry that they happen to be in? Is social executive more important in one area or another?
Right. So in 2012, IBM did a study on social executives, and they found that only 16% of the executives of the 1,700 that they surveyed were involved in social. Now, what they found that in 3 to 5 years from now, that number is going to jump to 55%. And the reason for that is that social executives are going to realize that the writing is on the wall. It's mandated they become social. And why is that important? Well, because unless they understand their culture and their people, you will not have social brands.
So within an organization, if I understand this right, what you're really saying is for brands to be social tomorrow, their executives need to be social today.
Yes, they need to be the catalyst. That's kind of what we call the catalyst. They need to infuse that mission, vision, and value. They need to instill the why. Without the why, you can have your internal processes, you can have your platforms, but unless you have your employees fall in love with the brand themselves, they will never ever amplify your brand. They won't understand it, and they won't be on message. But they need trained. They need to be inspired by great leaders, and the leaders of tomorrow must be social executives.
So one of the things that we've talked about here on Perspectives in the past is the idea that the skill set necessary to be a true social CEO really doesn't exist yet, across the board. We've talked to an extent about that really being an outgrowth of some of the more enlightened CMOs, the Chief Marketing Officers today.
Yes.
Do you see that as a progression there? Is the next CEO really more of an enlightened social CMO?
Well, that's a good question. In Chapter 12, there's a great story from Vala Afshar, who tells about his journey from.
Yeah,
Where does that sound?
He came out of customer service and is now the CMO for Terrasis.
Right? Yes, he is. I should know. He's in my chapter. But it's important to know that he had a journey from one technical aspect. Now he's CMO. Now, what does that really mean? It translates to it doesn't matter what department you're in. Everyone is like a CMO in a corporation. That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody wears the same hat of marketing. Whether it's a CEO, CIO, they all come together. And at one time when I first started writing, I wrote, this conversions of CMOs and a chief marketing officer, and I thought that was it. If these two guys came together, we'll solve the world. But it's not the truth. All the CMOs, all the C-levels need to come together, take off their hats, and just sit at the table and find ways in which they can engage and empower their employees. And that's the mission.
Excellent. Cheryl, thank you very much for your time
today. Oh, you're
today.
welcome. Thank you, Fred. It's an honor to talk to you. You're one of my favorite writers. Thank you.